It's really no wonder why so many men and women in our day and age want members of the opposite gender to be living in sin. And the reason for that is really because it's easier to not have any pressure. There's no competition anxiety, there's no need to be better, there's no need to be a better human being if you're with somebody that's already living in sin. And what I've begun to notice is not only are a lot of men wanting women that are living in sin, a lot of women are wanting men living in sin. And it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it. And this can go back to the Adam and Eve story as well, but it can also go back to really just people not wanting to apply any pressure for the relationship. People don't want to have the burden of performance in what they're doing. And so what they'll do oftentimes is they'll not put up boundaries. They'll not put up different modes of operation in which demonstrate character, virtue, integrity, etc. So what happens when you do that? Well, you get relationships that are not going to last. I can look out and about in my community and I can look and I can see just which relationships, based off of the behavior between the man and the woman, are going to last and the ones that are not. I see men that are saying, oh yeah, she's the boss of me, she's the boss of me. You see the women walking around with the cart and the notepad and at the store, and the men are dragging their feet behind them, and it's like, yep, that one's not going to last. And you see women yelling at their husbands in plain sight for the whole public to see. No shame whatsoever for the man, and the men just let it happen. And one of the reasons for this is a lot of the times in our day and age, women want control, and when they're not able to control a man, they get nervous. Which leads me to the actual topic for today, which is how having boundaries as a man, when you are confident in expressing your boundaries and holding your boundaries, women are not going to respond very the way that you might think, let's say. Some of them will get very nervous, and in fact, most of them will get very nervous. They're almost afraid that you're not afraid. And I've had very beautiful women that I've talked to and I've set boundaries with, and at first they thought I was joking. They thought I was joking, and at the time when I started to really set boundaries and I was talking to these beautiful women for the first time, because for so long I'd been invisible to these women. I was nearly 200 pounds at 5'6", and I was fat, lazy. I didn't have anywhere to go with my life. There's really just not a lot of things that I had going on. Whereas now I've got a few more things going on. I'm a busy man, even though I'm not necessarily propelling myself the way that I would want to right now. I'm still trusting the process. I'm still working. I'm still going full-fledged into trusting in my works and having faith in my works. Because I know exactly, I know that what I'm doing is not going to be held down by society, because I know that I have God on my side, and I know that I've experienced certain things that get me to a certain place. And that brings confidence to you. That brings competence to you. And so what looks good on paper sometimes isn't going to look the best in real life, right? And vice versa. Sometimes what doesn't look good on paper is actually really great in real life. And so on paper, this woman might check all the boxes. She might come across as attractive. She might she's either going to be attractive or she's not in your eyes. But she's either going to have certain things marked off on your list or not. And a lot of men, too many men, in fact, are willing to sacrifice what they want in relationships for the sake of a beautiful woman. And when I first started to talk to women that were more beautiful, when I first started to really get to a certain point in my spiritual journey and overall just my maturation in general, what happened was that I didn't know how to set proper boundaries because I was intimidated by the beauty. And I didn't know why. I didn't know why I was intimidated by the beauty. It was a very strange phenomenon. And what happened is that I began to not be afraid to lose them. And that's when I was able to set firmer boundaries and actually hold those boundaries. And a lot of the times when you do that, a woman will be flabbergasted and she won't know what to do. A lot of men have never done that before. Like, wait, there's actual consequences for actions? What? So when you're able to demonstrate that you actually can walk away from the situation if it does not suit you, well, just the ability to walk away is attractive. But number two, what you're doing is you're taking control of the situation and you're taking ownership and responsibility to lead the way. And many women will say that they don't want that, and that's pure BS. You don't want to listen to that kind of stuff. What women say and what women respond to are two different things, right? So notice what they respond to. And for too long, I was focused on what was being said by women. I was so focused on what was being demonstrated through their words, and I was not paying attention to actions. When I started to pay more attention to actions, everything started to fall into place. So one of the reasons why women get flabbergasted and nervous is because of the competition anxiety. They know that there's other women after you. And now I'm at a point personally, it's really bizarre to me because I never thought that I would have literally dozens of beautiful women at this point throwing themselves at my feet. And that's it's great, but it's not always going to be the best route because there's a lot of temptation there. And not only is there temptation on my side, it's almost like out of the dozens of women that are very beautiful, out of the dozens of women that were very beautiful, that pretty much threw themselves at my feet, I would say probably 60 to 70% of them were already in relationships or married. And I didn't know about a few of them up until after talking to them. But others I knew right off the bat, and I was just like, well, thanks for your interest, but no thanks. And they were very, very upset. Some of them still upset to this day. When I see them out and about, they're not competition anxiety. They're like, why didn't you give me my way? And nobody tells me no kind of a thing. I've said this before in other videos a while back, but about 8 months ago now, maybe, I told a woman no. And she told me, this was a 22, 23-year-old girl maybe. She told me that I was the first man in her life to ever tell her no. I will never forget that. That was just astounding to me. And it goes to show how many women can really get away with whatever nowadays, even if they don't want to think so. And it's not to say that the men out here that are in relationships as well, that are actively exercising their options, if you're doing that as a man, I'm not going to say that I don't understand it, because I understand it, but that doesn't make it right. I understand, me myself, living as a man with male hormones and biology, the way that we determine our sexual marketplace value is by how many women we're able to be in a sexual relationship with. Whereas women, the way that they determine their sexual market value is the quality of man they're able to get to commit to them, right? So women, more often than not, want to have commitment down the line. And it's so funny. It's so funny. If you ask them this, like, say, well, do you want to be married someday? Do you want a relationship someday? 80 out of like 100 women will probably say yes. So a good majority. And yet, so many of those same women act and argue for sexual liberation. And it's like, why are you arguing to be a 304 if you're saying that you want, like, it doesn't make sense. And they don't understand that it doesn't make sense until you point it out, and they're like, oh. It's like, well then, yeah, stop acting like that. Stop acting like that. And all of the men, look, I don't think if we are in a relationship, and honestly, I think the only reason you should date is to be in a long-term relationship. And even dating, like, I don't date women anymore. I go out on walks with them. I'll go to the gym with them. I'll do activities together, but I'm not taking a woman out on a date until I know that I'm the only man that she's talking to. And even then, it's like, man, you never really know. But that's part of life, especially in today's day and age. And a lot of women will say that as well about men. But for men, it makes the man more attractive. And women sometimes think that what makes a man attractive is going to be the same things that are going to be what make a women attractive. And that's just not true. There was a woman a while back at the gym, and she wanted me to spot her on the bench press. And she was she's very, very fit, obviously. And it was very, I could tell that she was trying to flirt with me, and she wanted me to start a conversation, etc. But as soon as she got on the bench and when she went to spot, she started just acting like a guy, man. Like, yeah, let's go. And I was just, I was just turned off immediately, man. I was just like, man, this woman's hot, but she acts like a dude. Like, I just can't do that. I can't do that. And so physically, of course, I'm still visually appealed to her, but on the personality level, I was just, not really there. Just not really there. And I didn't continue anything. I didn't try to talk to her again. And I could tell that she was starting to get that competition anxiety. And so I set boundaries with her because I needed to take control of the situation. And she was happy that I was talking to her, but sad that I was pretty much saying that we're not compatible. And she didn't really know what to do about that. And I could tell that she's probably never been rejected before. And it's not like I want to reject these women. Like, I would have loved to start something with some of these women. But I don't deal with women that have guy friends. I have certain standards that I'm going to uphold. I don't care how attractive you are. It'll be nice to look at you every now and again, sure. But I'm not going to go out of my way to try to make something happen with a woman that is already talking to so many different guys and getting her fix everywhere else. Or if she's already in a relationship, of course I'm not going to. Of course I'm not. I have more respect for myself than that. And this is not to say that there are not women out there that are single, that are ready to be in long-term relationships or looking for that. I've met women like that, but they're very few and far in between. And even the ones that you do meet that are like that, sometimes you're just not compatible. You don't really have the same virtues or same standards. And I'm a godly man, and I'm looking for a relationship in which I can create a relationship with a godly woman. And I have certain criteria of what that is defined as. So it depends on what you want, but I'm not going to encourage everybody to just go sleep around. I don't think that's good for anybody. I really don't. I really don't think that's good for anybody. I think we all ought to be searching for / creating long-term relationships. And if this person is not long-term relationship material for you, you should move on. That's the way that I see it. And that's the way that I live my life. I practice what I preach, unlike a lot of these people out here. And the people that know me through consultations or in the Regal Change Academy, they'll know that I practice what I preach, because I'm in communication with them and I demonstrate certain behaviors. So the results will speak for themselves. Whew. What a nice day outside, guys. It's a really nice day. Figured I would do something a little different as far as the background goes. I kind of like this new era that we're going into. I can tell that summer is kind of starting to wane and fall is beginning to arrive here in Utah. Since the weather changing, it's a bit cooler in the mornings. So looking forward to the changes. But anyways, guys, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.